Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking on a necessary but just incredibly somber topic.
It really is.
We're looking at the sudden, really unexpected passing of one of TikTok's biggest stars, Marquay, who millions of people knew as Marquay Decode. We've gathered all the available sources, the articles, the tributes to really unpack this. He passed away at just 24 years old.
So young.
Exactly. And our mission today is, well, it's twofold. First, to get a sense of the scale of the world he built online. And second, to analyze that profound shock and grief that just erupted.
Yeah.
It helps us understand why losing a digital creator can feel so personal to millions of people who technically never even met him.
And this is, I think, such a critical case study in the modern creator world when you have someone who is so vibrant, so high energy.
Right.
Someone who's literally building their career right in front of your eyes, and then they're just gone. The reaction is just fundamentally different from, traditional celebrity grief.
How so?
Well, Marquay had built an entire empire on this idea of an intimate connection. So when a life like that is cut short, social media doesn't just mourn, it becomes this shared experience of total shock.
Okay, so let's unpack that influence first. Who was Marquay, and I guess what made him the GOAT?
Well, at only 24, he was already a powerhouse, especially on TikTok.
Yeah, the number is staggering. He had an audience of over 6.9 million followers.
I mean, just think about that. It's an almost unimaginable number of people watching you every day. It places him right in the top tier of creators globally.
And that's not just popularity, right? That's real influence.
That's serious cultural and economic influence, absolutely.
So when you look at the sources, the appeal of his content, it wasn't like some niche thing. It was built on what works. This infectious humor and just being so relatable.
Right. He did these comedic skits that felt completely spontaneous, high-energy dance videos.
And those glimpses into his daily life, that seems crucial. He wasn't just performing a role, he was sharing his actual life.
And that's what the analysis points to, this idea of his natural charisma. You hear that phrase all the time, but for him, it translated directly into engagement.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning his content, whether it was, some big elaborate joke or just him showing off a new shirt, it never felt forced. His success wasn't an accident. It was like a perfect storm of talent meeting the platform.
Well, let's move beyond just charisma and talk strategy for a minute.
Yeah.
Because turning charisma into almost 7 million followers, that takes work.
Oh, absolutely.
And the sources really highlight two critical ingredients that really fueled that growth.
The first one is simple, but it's also brutal. Consistency.
Just posting all the time.
All the time. Building a community that large requires a machine-like commitment. You can't just go viral once and then stop. Yeah. He was constantly feeding his audience new content.
And that's how you turn casual viewers into a loyal fan base.
Exactly. A fan base that's ready to engage, to support every single day.
But doesn't that consistency risk, burnout? Or just making the same video over and over? How did he keep that genuine feel the sources talk about?
That's where the second ingredient comes in. Collaboration.
Oh, okay.
He was actively working with other big TikTok creators. And this isn't just about making fun videos with friends. It's a modern expansion strategy.
You're cross-pollinating audiences.
Precisely. You share your 6.9 million followers with someone else's 5 million, and you both grow. It solidified his place in the whole creator community. It's like a way to scale authenticity.
So a rising star, career trajectory pointing straight up, using all the best practices. And this is where the narrative just takes that abrupt, heartbreaking turn.
It is. And the timing of his last digital footprint just makes the whole tragedy feel almost unreal.
Yeah, the sources note his final piece of content was shared on November 25th.
Just one day before he passed. One day.
And there was no indication. Nothing seemed off.
Zero indication. Not in his tone, his energy, nothing. To go from that high energy daily content to just absolute silence in less than 24 hours. It created this enormous emotional whiplash for his followers.
I can only imagine. And when that silence hit, I'm sure the speculation started immediately.
Oh, of course. That's what happens in these huge digital communities.
So how was the news actually confirmed? How did it go from rumor to fact?
Well, this is what's so telling. The news didn't come from a manager or, a formal press release at first.
Which you'd expect for a star that size.
Right. It was confirmed by the most intimate, raw source possible. His mother, Sanja.
Wow.
She shared this deeply emotional post on Facebook on November 26th. And that public, intensely personal confirmation it cut through all the noise. It brought the real familial grief right into the digital conversation.
And that quote from her went viral almost instantly, didn't it? Just has such a devastating weight to it.
It does. It strips away all the celebrity stuff and just leaves the pain.
She wrote, "My heart is broken. My baby, my last one, my snuggabug, my Marquay is no longer here with me."
That language. Snuggabug. It's so personal. It just transformed the story from a celebrity headline into a human tragedy in an instant. It confirmed everyone's worst fears.
But it also raised another question, one that fueled a lot of the confusion.
Right. The cause of death has not been publicly disclosed.
And I imagine that lack of information, especially when it's someone so young and the death is so sudden, it must make it so much harder for those millions of people to process, right?
Precisely. When someone who seems perfectly healthy dies without explanation, it's hard to contextualize. It adds this element of inexplicable mystery, which just amplifies the shock.
So the focus stays entirely on the loss itself.
Exactly. There's no context, no circumstances to hold on to, just the grief.
That's a really profound point. Okay, let's shift to the reaction itself, because the sheer scale of the digital mourning was immense.
It was an immediate, widespread outpouring of tributes from fans, but also, very significantly, from the fellow creators who were his collaborators and his peers.
A real moment of collective grief.
It was. The hashtag #MarquayTheGoat started trending almost immediately across multiple platforms.
And it's not just that it trended, it's how people were using it.
That's the key. It became a kind of virtual memorial. People weren't just posting RIP, they were sharing specific videos, favorite quotes, photos, stories about how his content actually affected them.
Which brings us to the real aha moment of this deep dive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Why was the grief so intense? Why did this feel so deeply personal to millions of people who only knew him through a phone screen?
You said it earlier, it was like losing a friend, not just a celebrity.
It was the quality of the connection.
That's it, exactly. He fundamentally shattered that, that digital wall between a creator and the audience. The sources all point to it. His genuine personality wasn't just in his skits, it was in his entire engagement strategy.
So what does that look like in practice? What did he do that made people feel that sense of community?
Well, he was incredibly responsive. He'd often reply directly to comments, not with just a thumbs up, but with real interactions.
Okay.
And even more importantly, he did a lot of live streams. And live content creates this immediate, unedited connection. You're acknowledging viewers by name, you're answering their specific questions, you're sharing an unscripted part of yourself.
So his followers weren't just passively watching, they felt seen by him. They were part of his world, not just looking in.
Absolutely. That authentic, personalized connection is what fostered this strong, almost familial sense of community around his content.
Which makes the loss so much more heartbreaking.
Infinitely more.
Yeah.
When you feel like you know someone, when they've acknowledged you and shared their unfiltered self with you, losing them is not the same as losing a distant actor you admire. It felt like losing a member of their digital family.
That really explains the magnitude of it all. His career, as tragically short as it was, it really is a powerful lesson in the creator economy.
It is.
It shows that pure authenticity, when you combine it with that strategic consistency, is the golden ticket.
And if you look at the bigger picture, Marquay's contributions weren't just about entertainment. They were about creating a community in a very fractured digital world. His legacy is going to endure, not just because of his work, but because of the real emotional bonds he managed to forge through a screen.
So to summarize the key takeaways from this really sad deep dive, we lost Marquay Collins, Marquay the Goat, a 24-year-old creator whose career was a masterclass in digital authenticity.
Commanding over 6.9 million followers.
And his sudden, unexplained passing, which was confirmed by his mother's heartbreaking post, it really just highlighted how powerful and, frankly, how real these online connections have become.
Yeah, the loss of Marquay Collins it's a somber reminder of the fragility of life. But maybe even more than that, it underscores the profound, tangible, emotional impact that one person can have, even when their connection to you is entirely digital.
The grief is real because the connection felt real.
Because he worked to make it real. The effort was substantial.
And that really encourages us to think about how we dismiss online communities as, superficial. When a creator like Marquay commits to being genuinely authentic, it creates a real-world emotional impact that just completely transcends the screen. It forces us to rethink the boundaries between our digital lives and our emotional lives, something to think about long after the hashtag fades.